so happy. I'm not happy that I'm seeing these homeless. I'm happy that I'm getting information out to people that they need to see. It feels good. Just walked in, sorry. I feel like Ron White, you know, the comic, when somebody just shared a video of his. It was funny. And he drinks, but he's drinking alcohol. This is just water. He takes a sip like that of his drink in the middle of his sentences when he does his comedy. Anyway, so we're here on a wonderful Monday night. Hope I got the date right. I'll change it on the video. Seriously, I just dropped the groceries off and I ran in here. So welcome to the show. We're going to have some fun here tonight. I don't know if I'd be in this chipper of mood if I didn't find that wonderful young lady to have a discussion with me about, I don't know, about an hour ago, right there in downtown Desert Hot Springs. I found another camp, and I don't know if it looks like a day camp. I don't know if it's a nighttime sleeping camp right there behind the AM/PM, the Arco right there along Palm Drive at Granada and Palm. And if you go up Palm to almost to the AM/PM and you make a left on Granada and you look right on your right hand side, there's shopping carts galore, just any kind of random junk that you can find just sitting there in the empty lot. And they have a little walled off camp on that I was recording the most of, where that young lady was sitting. And I'm not sure her situation. I think she might have said she lived with her grandmother, but then she had some sort of disagreement or something. So I don't know whether she's part of that community, but she seemed to be fidgety, and I don't know if she was nervous, but she very warm soul. It's sad because these are somebody's daughter or somebody's baby. I mean, these are people who, for whatever reason, have been pulled into, whether it's a fatherless home situation or if it's an abusive relationship or abusive parent in a two-parent household, or if the parents died, who knows what happened to lead her to kind of like live kind of like floating around and just kind of hanging out with random people who just kind of sit behind a gas station. I mean, I don't think that's what most people look forward to their kids ending up doing. I mean, maybe she's told to just go find something to do for hours, and but she had tattoo on her neck. She said she was 21. Just looked like people are just using her to do different things, and she I don't know, it was sad, but she was sweet to talk to, and she just, the fact that she didn't leave after I told her that I could record her, that she has every right to walk away, and I can't hound her or badger her, and the fact that she stayed and talked. If you read into that, you see that she actually felt like she should do this. She should just stand there and talk. At some point, something switched in her, and she said, "You know what? I need to keep saying things." I don't know if that's a cry for help or what, or maybe she felt like it was some sort of security for the moment. I wasn't there to get anything from her other than just talk to her and document the conversation on the sidewalk like we can in this country. It's First Amendment. We're given that right to do that. So I exercise it, I practice it, and I hope you share it. I hope you bring it to the attention of people who need to see it. They offered for me to get into this ad hoc homeless committee. I haven't had one email from that committee ever since I started going into the Word of Life Fellowship and documenting what's going on there. I don't know if Miss Jan Pye kicked me out of the queue to get emails, or if she's just, not ready to send out the next one, because it seemed like what they were doing was meeting every end of the month. They were meeting towards the end of the month. Well, it's the 20th now. Maybe there's going to be one at the end of the month. Maybe I have to go find it now. Maybe I'm kicked off the email list. I don't know. But even going to it, the last homeless ad hoc committee meeting, I couldn't believe it. It was right before the last city council meeting before they went on this break, this dark session. Russ Batts said, in his little section of talking about what he did for the past 2 weeks between the last meeting and this one, he said, and I showed up to the ad hoc homeless committee, And I was really impressed. Some good work going on there. I was really impressed. I mean, that's how he talked about it. And what happened at that ad hoc homeless committee meeting? They were supposed to they brought people from Riverside County, I guess it's the division of the county that it's the call center where if you're having trouble with your landlord, you know, you're a renter and you're having trouble with your landlord, or maybe vice versa. I didn't quite catch whether landlords can call there and deal with renter stuff. But it's a service for renters mostly who are having a dispute with their landlord, and they can, you know, they basically will handle or help you handle your situation. And it was supposed to be for renters to show up and get some information. It was all for renters. Renters come. Well, landlords showed up. Some landlords showed up to the meeting, and no renters showed up. You know, I know that's not the fault of Miss Jam Pie, but how is that a great meeting? It's not a success. I mean, why do you have to just say, you know, you did a great job. It was really some good work. I mean, what good work? The intent of the meeting didn't even work. There were no renters there. So, I mean, it was an ad hoc homeless committee meeting, and it was there to make people who rent aware that there are services if they're having trouble. There were no news crews there. There was no filming going on. I mean, it was like whatever happened in the room that night, gone, disappeared into the ether. Only into the minds of the people that were there, and there were no renters there. Who's going to tell them? Or I think landlords are going to go out to the renters and say, hey, listen, you really should have shown up to this meeting. No, they'd be shooting themselves in the foot potentially. It was not good work. And maybe I'm not being invited back. I don't know. I'll try to follow it, but this email is right here, Steve RJ Giboney, and I have nothing from Miss Jam Pie for the end of this month. I don't know whether it's off or what, but it's just not a real movement. I just don't see anything substantial. There's no like groundbreaking, oh my goodness, they're going to do something good now. It's just, you know, something to say they did, it seems like, you know. But I mean, I'm not waiting around to watch people do nothing and say they're doing so much and have other council members go, you're doing some good work there. Wrong. Not in my mind. I'd rather go do some real work. Just bring some awareness. That's about all I can do. Didn't get elected, so I'm staying busy until next election, that's for sure. So anyway, let's look at some news, not some news, but some subjects. The reason I have this on here tonight, the Grand Chessboard, we're going to talk a little bit about the Grand Chessboard, because this past week I had a segment of time where I had some brain expanding epiphanies that happened. And it all has to do with the current pressure that's being applied to society and how we're seeing things kind of like rumble and rattle. And I'm not talking about that earthquake today, because that was something. I was actually typing a story today, and boom, boom, boom. It was a nice jolt here in Desert Hot Springs, that rattler today that happened up in Joshua. I don't know if you felt it, but they said there was some cracked stucco and some cracked walls somewhere, because I think there was some few seconds of rattling somewhere. But ours was, maybe there was something before it, but it was really just a shake, like a boom, boom, boom. That was all. I knew it was an earthquake for sure. So that was weird. So Grand Chessboard, right here. I've got something long, and I'm gonna put it into an article, but I wanted to describe it first. I wanted to talk about it first before I put it into an article, because you should know me by now. I like metaphors. I like to think metaphorically. I like to speak metaphorically. I like to, because it helps me, because, how should I say it? It gives me an ability to relate parallel things to themselves, because everything in the world, it's all been done before. It's all been done. You know, you've had constitutions, you've had the Magna Carta, you've had you know, if somebody's thought of it, it's been thought of over and over and over again. So whatever we've lived through as a species, we're living through something similar over and over. But I also see how kind of like mechanisms for society, how they operate, and I also see a metaphor for it. So the Grand Chessboard is kind of the first theme of what I'm going to get into tonight. And I plan on going about an hour. We'll see how long it goes. But the chessboard is our system is like a game. And I brought up the game about our city before, and I will keep driving the same information over and over, because if it's BS, move along. But if you think something's here, keep watching, because I'm going to keep repeating a lot of very similar things, because it needs to be you need to hear it a lot of times to start to see how the game is being played. And after thousands of years of societies, the power centers of the globe, they understand how we work. They know what we're going to do. When they nudge us, they know what we're going to do. When they dangle things, they know what we're going to do. When they apply pressure to us, they know what we're going to do. In a mass movement, they know how to steer mass movements. That's why 300-something million people in this country can be led by like 6,000. Okay, it's not hard for them, because it's a game. They play the game, and they don't tell you what the game is. You have to figure the game out. And what the game is, it is a very, very grand chessboard. Grand meaning this is the top of it. This is how it's done. So what the grand chessboard, what my great epiphany period, because I rarely have them, but I had one this week, and it allowed me to do what I figure is a big lurch forward in understanding and deeper understanding, because again, it's all been done before. So I'm going to explain to you a metaphor for how our system is steered, and what the final outcome is going to be if they get their way, if they get what they intend on doing. Okay, so what I'm going to start with is, imagine a ruthless corporation. Let's not say across town. Let's say in the region. Let's say a regional corporation that's just cutthroat, and everybody knows it's cutthroat, and it will do anything to win. Okay? And let's say it's got franchises all over the country, but you're competing. Your business you have is an independent business that competes with that big corporation. Okay? And you're doing okay because you provide a different service. In a service business, you have price, selection, and service. Okay? Price, selection, and service. Selection meaning you have a lot of items or little amount of items. But you can provide a lot of items for people, or you could provide a good price, but you cannot provide service. Okay? Out of price, service, and selection, you can only do two of them. So let's say your business focuses on service and selection, right? But your prices are high, okay? You stay in business because you have customers who like the service they get. They come into your business, and this is your independent business that I'm talking about, not the big mega corporation business across town that is competing with you and wants your business from you. They want to buy you out, okay? So let's say that your business provides service and selection, but the prices are high. They can provide a good price and a lot of selection, but they can't provide the service. They don't have enough staff to answer your questions. So if you're just going strictly for selection and price, and you find all your own stuff on the shelves, great. That's how they make their money. But it's two different businesses. They sell the same stuff, or they do the same service, but they provide two different things than you provide at your business. So that business of yours is now, you're starting to get letters from that big corporation saying, hey, we'd like to, see what you want for your business. We'd like to buy you out, okay? And you are you're 30 years old, you've got a huge success going with this business, and you have no desire to give it up. And you want to give it to your kids. You want to pass it along. This is your dream, okay? So now what I'm getting at is, what I'm talking about, let me start to relate what these groups are now. What we're talking about, this big mega corporation, is the string pullers, the big banking cartels, the large mega banks that have control over your money supply. So they are the big dog on the block. Big man on campus, BMOC. When I was a kid, I learned that. So they're the big dogs. So what do they want? They want the small independent business. What do they want? America. Okay, so the metaphor I'm giving you is that We're going to look at a small business takeover by a larger business that will get what it wants, unless the small business fights really hard to save their business. And I'm going to tell you the tactics that they're going to use. And this is going to directly tie to our good friend, Mr. Tylen Blaylock, because I see him as a player in this here. Maybe not wittingly, maybe not unknowingly, but he's part of this. He's either drank the Kool-Aid and he's aiding this situation on purpose, or he doesn't know it, but he's still doing it. So what you've got is you've got America, who's the independent, operating on its own, autonomous country that's doing its own thing. And this big banking cartel wants it. They want to, what I put in here, and you're going to read this in my article if you read it, they want to colonize. They want to make America a colony of their broader franchise business. Okay, they want to slip America into their system. And what I'll talk about in this article once I post it is, we have a globe that is set up like a corporation now. And I've said this before my show. I hope you have paid attention because I brought up this before. It's like a corporation the way it's run. Okay? Countries used to have their own self-propelled system. Okay? Countries used to grow their own food, they used to make their own goods, they used to have their own currency, and they used to have their own government. Now we're seeing come into view a global system. And if you'd like me to, ask for them, and I'll post many links to where they say they want to create a global government. Okay, and the global government is a one government. So, but what they have to do first is they have to consume countries that are not in or on board with that. And the reason we're not on board with that is because we are a sovereign country. We are our own country. We have our own Constitution, Bill of Rights. We have our own people. We have our own opinions. Compared to the rest of the world, we have our own opinions. And we run ourselves the way we like to run ourselves. They don't want that. They want to basically create a similar system in our country as they want to create, as they've already created in some, and as they're already working on in others. Again, we'll go back to the corporation. So how is it done without the corporation, without their knowledge? Okay, how does the big mega corporation that provides selection and price but no service, how do they take over the smaller guy? Okay, especially when the smaller guy says, no, I'm sorry, I'm not selling. What do they start to do? They start to attack that small business by putting out smears. They start saying, oh, the stuff they sell is junk, or you know, they'll do a hit on the company where they'll buy something, and they'll if it's a food, they'll eat it and they'll say they got sick, and they'll put that on the news. You know, they bought something from that company. It's called corporate warfare. So they will do dirty tricks to start to weaken that company, because if they can start to spread the word around the community that something was bought by somebody, and it could be somebody from the company, the big mega company, and the readers in the news don't know it, okay? They have what they call kind of false flags. They'll have somebody buy something, they'll take it home, they'll do a review of it, and they'll say it cracked the first time they opened it, okay? And that gets out. Sooner or later, people who shop at this smaller independent company are going to start to say, I don't know, I hear some things about that store. It's selling some stuff that's junk. And that's the dirty trick. They will start moving on them, and nobody is able to prove it's coming from the big mega corporation. So now let's go back to the global system that wants America. And again, I'm talking about my great expansion of understanding of our system, because it happened this week, and I'm so glad it did. Because it takes time to process how much you learn in deep. They say it's like going down the rabbit hole. So, how does it compare to our country, right? What we're seeing is we're seeing players who are maybe from within the country, maybe from outside of the country, stirring up trouble, okay? And I'm talking about things like maybe even legislators. We're seeing lawmakers maybe. We're seeing outside people and inside people that are eroding the confidence of the American people. They're wearing it down. Year after year, they're just picking away at it, and they just don't stop. It's a day and night system of just mining and eroding and hollowing out the confidence and the morality, and they're just working on it. You work day and night like a never-stopping tractor that just keeps pulling sand from underneath the foundation. Just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, and it never stops. And you hear it. You know how it is. It's that tension, that energy that's just so dark and negative. And people want to say it's Trump. People want to say it's Cory Booker. People want to say it's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. People want to say it's people on a local level. It's a spirit. It's an entire spirit that wants to take over the country. And I'm not saying everybody who's part of this knows that that's what it's about. But what I will say is this. Once you inspire people with a dark heart to get active and start acting on that darkness, if you give them an opening that they can go through and start doing that kind of work, and then you have a system that has been built up over the last 60, 70 years that is protecting that kind of activity, then you will see people crawl out of the sewers, and they will be elevated to a position that is very very visible, very loud. They have a large microphone. They have a large platform to speak on. And why? It's because the larger corporation is moving in to erode. It's working to undermine. Undermine meaning go underneath the structure and dig out underneath it and pull out the material so that it collapses. They're undermining. They're undermining that small business, and they do it through bad reviews. They'll do it through corporate sabotage. They'll disrupt the supply chain of their products to the truck, so that when people are expecting those cans of refried beans or whatever it is, and they say, well, they didn't really come in. They'll say, well, the truck was delayed, or anything they can to decrease the amount of business coming in. And then here's the next thing they'll do. They'll get somebody from the corporation to get hired into the competitor, into the independent business that's running. They'll get a plant in the facility. And what that plant will start to do, and this is more about what I'm talking about people who will erode the confidence and wear the country down. What that plant will do is it'll start whispering to other workers, hey, you guys unhappy here? I am. And they start to erode the happiness of the employees, because a lot of the employees don't know what's coming. So they like the person, it's very personable, this new employee, and they may wait a year, they may wait 2 years. They've got time. The ultimate goal is to consume this other business. So what they do is they just start planting seeds of discontent. And again, the workers that have been happy there for all their lives, or all their careers, whatever they've had time into the business, they don't know what's happening. But they start to fall for it. So what they start to do is they start to turn over a long period of time on their boss or on their managers, and it starts to wear down the strength of the business, because now you got people who have arguments now in the back room because they're believing this new employee that came in as a disruptor. They're believing this person that came in who is agitating and irritating the staff and the faculty and the sales personnel, starting to wear them down. And the employer can't fire them because they're doing their job, but they're just having conversations in their off time. They're saying, hey, let's go to the bar. When they get to the bar, they say, what do you think of McNamara? And they say, I don't know. And they say, I heard he's sleeping around. Spreading rumors, starting to wear down the happiness of the successful business. And it's starting to shake. That's where we're at in our country, because what's happening is that big mega corporation, the banking cartel, is employing people to be disruptors in our country. And it's clear as day what's happening. Clear as day. And how the global corporation works is that remember I was talking about how each country used to have its own ability to sustain itself. It used to have manufacturing, agriculture. In each country, it could never leave the borders and have everything it needs right there. So what has the corporate system that we now live under done? They've moved, and you're going to read it in this article if you read it. This is all going to be an article right here. It's the whole thing. I'm going to clean it up a little bit, but this is pretty much it. It's down at the end here. I'll read you some of it so I can get into it. If I can't find it, I'll just tell you because it's all in my head. I've got it figured out. Okay, I'll just tell you because I'm not going to waste your time on here. They've moved the manufacturing, Chessboard. They've moved the manufacturing where? To one region of Asia, to China. That's where your manufacturing of most of your stuff is. You look at where it's made today, most of it's made in China. Okay? So we don't have the manufacturing. Look at some of the mills. I was born and raised in Manchester, New Hampshire. We had the textile mills all up and down the river, and those have all been closed down now. And it's that same thing all over the country. Look at Detroit. You know that the Cadillac and the Volt are made in China now? Did you know that? The last administration took taxpayer money from you and paid to move Cadillac and Volt to China. So you have what are called Manchurian candidates that are put into positions of power in this country, and they start creating an environment that allows for the offshoring of manufacturing, moving it off of our shores, so that why? So that we can't sustain ourselves. We don't have the manufacturing anymore. What if somebody invaded us? We don't really have the factories anymore. I'm not saying invasion is going to happen. I'm just saying look at the model. And what does a corporation do? And it's in this article too. What does a corporation do? They have down the hallway and to the left you have human resources. Yep, down the other hallway and to the right you have the workout room, the gym, the fitness room, the exercise room, the recreation room. Downstairs and across the parking lot, we got our manufacturing. Upstairs, towards the front of the store, you got your sales department. So what the global corporation has done is it has taken countries' abilities to autonomously run themselves. Look at NAFTA. Look at what NAFTA did to this country. Ross Perot said it. I put it in some of my stuff I've done already. It's a giant sucking sound. Because what he said was if you take and you offer a company who's got good employees, got good benefits, and a good business model and good customer base, and you offer them moving their manufacturing down to Mexico, where they're going to pay 10% of what they're paying employees in the United States now, and they don't have to pay any overtime, they don't have to pay any health care, and they don't have any safety or environmental standards to follow, you're going to have what's called a giant sucking sound. And what happened over the last several decades with people like Henry Kissinger and George Bush Sr., that's why I'm registered independent, because these people are the same on one side as they are on the other, okay? You have people who have created this shift of self-guidance within countries. They've now relocated where your call centers? India. You call India. So it's just like down the hall. Down the hall you got the call center. Down the hall to the left is the call center. So they've got it broken up into compartments, and they've made that the same. They've made that same model applied to the globe now. So you can see plenty of evidence. Even they admit it. They admit they're doing this. So you see plenty of evidence that what the model means is that in order to capture the sales markets, the food markets, the media markets on a larger scale, you have to consume more countries into one centralized system that operates, and it feeds the same information to the same way to all the different countries. And it's eventually a global language, it's a global currency. It's a centralization, centralizing, putting the sovereignty into a smaller group of people so that all of them are all colonies of the same system. I don't think I have to go back and explain to you much more about the larger corporation taking over the smaller corporation, except for the dirty tricks that are played to get that smaller corporation to finally have a meeting with the larger corporation and say, My sales are down 40%. I can't stay in business anymore. So what does the large corporation now do? They buy the competitor for pennies on the dollar. Anyone who's been really around a corporate atmosphere will know it is a dirty group of people. They are vicious in business. Vicious. Cutthroat, mean, nasty, selfish. Bottom line, baby, is all it's about. What's the profit margin? How much money is it making? That's a fact. So not only do they erode the business that small independent company had, but they can now come in and buy it for much less because it's not worth as much. They can haggle over the price now because the customer base has dropped. The sales numbers are lower. So what do we have in our city? We have our good friend, Mr. Talon Blaylock. Yes, we do. And what is he doing? I don't obsess about somebody like that, but I see what he does is he erodes, he works on the city, works on the people, just keeps throwing more gasoline in that little cut, just keeps irritating and inching deeper into the cut and whittling deeper in there, and working in there and just putting his finger in there. He doesn't build anything. What he seeks to do is cause more and more and more and more division. And he won't let anybody bring any facts that counter his claims. He won't do it. I'm excited to see how this poll turns out. Mr. Talon Blaylock, if you're watching, I'm excited to see how the poll turns out. Because I started a poll today on my In Desert Hot Springs page. I'm in a good mood tonight. Started a poll that said, would you like to see a debate, a live debate between Mr. Talon Blaylock and myself? And I'm fighting the urge to do it, but I might just do it. I might just tell you right now. He sent me a personal message through Facebook. I posted it on the poll. Posted it. I posted what he said. Because he's arrogant. Well, I'm going to call him in a little while. I'm going to see if he picks up again. So if you know him, text him. Tell him I'm going to call him in a little bit. We're going to see what he says. And I'm going to be very nice. Just like I was in that video tonight with that girl I was talking to. I want the conversation to continue. I don't want to win a conversation because I know what I believe and he thinks he knows what he believes. He does whatever he does. I want you guys to decide the outcome of it. I want to say what comes to my mind when I'm in front of him or when I'm on the phone with him, and I want him to say what he has to say in mind. And it's not entertaining to see the Jerry Springer style stuff. I don't do that. I'm not interested in that. I just want to have a nice conversation that is enlightening, is insightful. It goes into some deeper things if it can. If it doesn't, I'll say it didn't work. But he controls the conversation so that nobody can counter what he has to say because he doesn't. Oh, I was going to say in the poll he sent me a message saying, this is why I was saying he was arrogant. He sent me a message saying, and you can read it. It's right there. It's on that poll. I put it on the poll when somebody asked, what are you going to talk about? I said, ask him. He's the one. He came to me in that message. And this is where he's arrogant. And I'm about to tell you the big release about what he did. Okay? He said, if you want to have a real conversation and not do gossip on your show, and have me on, and I'll be there to boost your numbers. I don't care if he said that. But here's the catch. Here's where I've checkmated you for today, Mr. Talon Blaylock. I've checkmated you. Pay attention, because Chessboard is working for two things tonight. You do not want me to be known on your page. I'm glad I'm saying this now. Feels right. You don't want anybody on your page to know of me. So you're checkmated. You came to me and said, have me on your show. I'll boost your numbers. I said, okay. Now what? Because you know that if you go on my show, people in your group are going to find out about me. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do? I got you in the corner. I know you're wrong. That's why I'm I'm trying to expose what you're doing, and I love it. I know I've got right on my side. You don't attack a whole group of people for your cause. You don't attack all white people. I'm about to get choked up here. It's awful what you're doing. You are a vicious, mean person. You have a very, I actually think, and I'll tell you this to your face in a nice way, I think you're a con artist. I think you're a con man. I think you're a swindler. I think you're a two-bit carny barker is what I think you are. I think you run from anything that you can't win, and I think you stir up trouble from your keyboard with nothing to back it up. Let's give him a call. See if he picks up. Not looking good. His number's public. You can find it on B Custom. I guess he's not doing that thing where you send it to voicemail. Hello?
Thank you for calling. Please leave a message.
He had his chance tonight. I'll call him again at the end. We'll see. So, I've explained enough about that. I've got a couple more subjects I want to get into. Big one that happened was I typed one letter on Gary Gardner's page, and I'm not going to focus on just government stuff and like all that stuff. I hate to have to do it, but it really is the wall standing in front of this city thriving. These lowlifes, these nobodies, these weird people. So, what happened over the weekend with? And Facebook is not my thing all the time, okay? But it seems to be the theme tonight because the stuff that I'm talking about tonight kind of had to do with the Facebook thing. So I noticed an interesting conversation going on Gary Gardner's personal page. So I put what people put in when they want to follow a story or follow a thread. They put a little F. It means following. So I put it on there. Like I don't know, half an hour, and I went back and I went back to read some stuff, and I clicked on, what I did was I clicked on a thread above, and what happened was the little thing started to run. Like it started to, like say, like processing. When you click it, it shows the whole line of the conversation, and you can read what all the people said. So it started to go, working. I knew something was up. So that's when I took a screenshot of that, because once you leave the page, once you refresh or something like that, it's gone. You can't get back into it. So I got the picture of all I did. It was just right here. I think this tells you so much about these people. Okay, it tells you so much. I don't want to talk to that guy. Why? Well, they have the reasons, and you may have your reasons why you wouldn't want to talk to me, but it's still something. Still a reason. So I typed in just a little F here. 21 minutes. So it was 20 minutes it took for him to kick me out of his page. 20 minutes. Because I took this picture, a screenshot, right after I tried to open up right here. I tried to click on that, view all 10 replies, and it just went to working and working. So I knew something had changed with the page. So that's why I then, what I did was I took that picture and then I refreshed, because I wasn't going to hang around. And that's when it showed me, sorry, this page isn't available right now. What a coward. That's what I put at the end of this article. Where is it here? The city needs people who aren't cowards. DHS deserves men who can face critics. About all the time I'll give to that guy. I hope I get in 2020. I would be very nice. I told them I'm a very nice person when it comes to business. I have the right to call people out like this, and I have the platform to do it. And in the government situation, it's different. I understand. You don't go in and you become a dictator. I understand that. But I have tools. You've seen what I've built in this city for myself to get to you guys. You've seen what I've built over the last couple of years. I build things and they work. So what I'm telling you is that I have many, many, many avenues to get things done in a good way in this city without causing trouble if I was to have to work with this guy. I'll tell you that much. So that was an interesting one. You can read that article. That's up there. What do we have here? We just got a couple more. There was a famous writer that died. I've been called a conspiracy guy, so I figured I'd show, hey, this guy got a donation from John Lennon because of his conspiracies, and I guess he was a pretty popular comic and writer and satirist, and he lived in Desert Hot Springs until he died at, what is it, almost 80 or 70 something years old. So I never even knew of this guy until I read some news. Paul Krasner, so died in his home in Desert Hot Springs. So that's pretty interesting. If you look up Paul Krasner and you see some pictures of him, he's there with, one of the guys who was in Spinal Tap, the movie. One of those guys, a comic. He's we're on comics, But so that was interesting. Rest in peace. I didn't know he had somebody so popular. I'm sure we got a lot of people popular in Desert Hot Springs. I heard something about Cindy Williams. Somebody told me that Cindy Williams lives in Desert Hot Springs. I don't know if that's true or not. Earthquake, talked about that. Read about the power grid failures that are going on in New York City today, in Brooklyn. Another one happened today. So I got a couple more things that I sent myself to talk about. I got the schedule. Oh yeah, right here. Okay, so we got an article that recently came out in the Desert Sun. And what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start moving these into segments. So I'm going to start chopping up the show into pieces because most people don't want to sit through an hour show. So I'm going to chop it up into little 10, 12-minute segments about the topics that I talk about. Like that one earlier was about the grand chessboard. And I'm not sure if I'll make that one a video segment by itself, but this one I might. So I'm going to start over again because that's how I need to do it. I need to have a little room at the beginning of it. Just telling you how it's going to work. Ron White. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is what the Desert Sun just put out for an article about Rancho Mirage. And I thought this was very interesting because from the research I've done in Desert Hot Springs, they want to put in these multi-use houses, multi-use. And what that means is what it says right here in this article. But what I want to highlight about the article is how they spin it to make it sound like people want it. Okay? So, what they talk about is, it's called, again, the title of the article is Rancho Mirage unveils goals for moving cyclists, pedestrians safely on its streets. Okay? And I went to the CVAG General Assembly meeting. I didn't go to the meeting, I went to the dinner afterward and just kind of watched. But in this article, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I'm going to get to the section that it talks about. It talks about the deaths on bicycles, cyclists found, one thing looking for analysis, improved signage, study that plan outlines changes can be made in major intersections. And the reason I'm talking about this Rancho Mirage one is because it's all CVAG. It's all the same in each city. But what's interesting to me is how they spin it. And we're going to get to it here. It's a long article, actually. We can't design working with other cities. The plan also offers, this is about how they talk about how they want to, people don't know where cities end and where another city begins. So what they have to do is they have to tie all this stuff together so that people can go from one city to the next. I don't know who's riding bicycles. I don't know who's writing them. But they're saying that a lot of people want this. They talked about how bicycling went up 50% from like 2013 to like, I mean, it was like, if they had like 15 riders and it went up 50% or 100%, if it went up 100% from 2013 to 2019 in 6 years, it went up another 15 people. So it's just weird how they say that this is driving, this is moving, how it's like, this is what people are asking for, this is what they want. And I want to keep talking while I look for the part of the multi-use. I thought it was in the beginning, but I scanned over the beginning and I didn't see it. Stay off Highway 111. We'll talk about that for a second. In its study, AECOM also advised against adding any bike lanes on Highway 111. Sounds, right. Get killed on that highway probably. And encouraged the city to work with Coachella Valley Association of Governments. Ooh, they always talk about that same player again. But why? Because they're the driver of all this stuff. They dictate. That's why I say you have a head that comes down and it passes down. You don't run your city anymore, man. These guys do. Your CVAG does, and their bosses run them. And that boss has a boss, and that boss has a boss, and that boss has a boss. So it trickles down. Your city council meetings are mostly for show, people. Okay. I'm going to find it. I don't quit until I find what I'm looking for. Where the writing is, I may have to take a second here and look for it. Okay, nationwide. Oh, that's people were killed. 12 people killed. It's a bunch of statistics, make it look justified. Okay, but I still don't see a lot of people like wanting to ride. I don't know. Okay, here it is. Part of it. The city and others throughout the Coachella Valley is seeing more cyclists on its streets. Ooh, where? Desert Bicycle Club. Ooh, they found somebody who had an increase in ridership. Desert Bicycle Club has reported a 50% increase in its membership from 2013. A 50% increase since 2013, but they don't say how many they had. So again, if they had like 10 riders, they had a 50% increase, 15 riders now, 6 years into it. In addition, communities are looking at ways to become more cyclist and pedestrian friendly. Oh, here we go. This is it. In addition, communities are looking at ways to become more cyclist and pedestrian friendly. Okay, they don't say people are looking to become, they say communities are looking to become. And what can the community be? It can be the city. City's going to drive it. City Hall's going to drive it. People aren't going to drive it. So, in addition, communities are looking at ways to become more cyclist and pedestrian friendly, creating designated areas for mixed use development. Ooh, where people can work, shop, dine, and play where they live without having to get into their cars. Okay? So I've brought it up several times, and I hope at some point you guys start looking more into it. I know some of you probably are. The Vortex plan was adopted in Desert Hot Springs, man. It calls for all this stuff. It calls for all this stuff. It's nothing new. It's a script. They're reading a script. When the time comes, they pull out the script and read it. They're selling it. This is a sales pitch for it. So that later on when it's being built, you say, yeah, I heard people are asking for that. And when that becomes your only choice, that's where you live. Where people can work, shop, dine, and play where they live. So you can do everything like at your house. You can live upstairs, you can work downstairs. I don't know who's asking for this. I think, from what I understand, people like to live in their own house somewhere, out in town. Why are they working towards this? This is Rancho Mirage talking about it. But it means everywhere, because it says in the article, it says it's run by CVAG. And CVAG is all the cities on this end of the valley. we see more funding available now for active transportation goals than we have in the past. So without having to get into their cars, whose choice is that? Are you asking for your car to be not used? I mean, who? The communities are looking for this. Do you see the sales pitch going on here? They don't have to get you to commit to it tomorrow. They just have to keep planting it, keep eroding, keep undermining, keep just needling, keep digging into America. So you can read the article for yourself. Rancho Mars unveils goals for moving cyclists, pedestrians safely on the streets. One of the intersections they say in this that they've got to make, it's a priority. You got to hear this. The intersection of Bob Hope. I think this is right where that guy was shot recently. The guy was shot right here. The guy with the knife. I think it was right here, right in this little stretch right here. He was walking on the sidewalk or something, right there. The intersection of Bob Hope and Dinah Shore drives. The intersection of Bob Hope and Dinah Shore Drives in Rancho Mirage is among those that made a list of priorities when improvements for pedestrian and cyclist safety are needed. For priorities, there's nothing out there. Pedestrians? There's a bus stop there. Where are they going to walk to? The casino? Once they get into the casino, there's nowhere else to go. It's a priority? What kind of BS is this? But because I guess the Desert Sun wrote it, I guess it's a fact, and it's true. How can that intersection be a priority? Over that hill, there's an in and out. There's a train station, train track that runs through there. How is it a priority for pedestrians? I don't get it. I mean, I hope you don't get it either. But this is such garbage coming out here that they say, we also asked the consultants to look at the future impacts of CV Link. The final build out of CV Link with a detour in Rancho Mirage would be disruptive. So basically what they're saying is, from what I understand, that Rancho Mirage like played like they didn't want it. Okay? Oh, good cop, bad cop, maybe. Now they're like, well, you know, it just might happen. And they also said in here that the CV Link in the Cathedral City section, I think it's over by the airport, big success. They said, big success. So, multi-use. That was the big one I wanted to talk about in this article, was the multi-use. It's in your own city's documents, and it's been there for years and years. But all of a sudden now it's like, we have an idea. Let's build housing where everybody can stay. It's a script, reading a script. So let's see what else there is. I don't think there's much else. Chessboard talked about tonight's schedule. Oh yeah, let me check the schedule here. We talked about earthquake. We talked about the grand chessboard. We talked about the push towards multi-use housing, and we talked about our lovely city councilman, the great snowball himself that he calls himself, Mr. Gary Gardner. Saw him get his car washed the other day over there at the Vaughn's parking lot. The kids were having a car wash. I didn't have time out, or else I would have done it. But having his big truck washed. His big symbol he drives. So let's put this up here, and we'll give Mr. TB one last try. Because I'd love to talk to him. I'd love to ask him. I still got his questions up here, I think. I think I can still get his. No, I meant not his questions. I can wing it. If he doesn't pick up, I'll wrap up. Read your Bible. Very important. Revelations, whatever you're into. Got some.
Thank you for calling. Please leave a message and we will get back to you.
This is a landline, so he swiped it. Said no talking. So put pressure on him. Get him to debate me. I'll be very nice. He'll leave here smiling. We'll have a handshake. I want to get him in a room where we can talk. Per his request, not per mine. So get a hold of him. Tell him, let your group find out about me.